My dad and uncle tried to teach me poker, but I just couldn't get the hang of it. I'd rather play solitaire, honestly. It's a game I can win on my own, with no pressure and no complicated strategies to wrap my head around. My wife, Linda, on the other hand, is a real card shark. She's not a professional or anything, but she's definitely better than most folks I know. She has this tight-knit group of friends she plays with all the time, and they're always organizing these big poker nights. Linda usually walks away with a pretty penny after these gatherings. She's even participated in a few local tournaments and done surprisingly well, earning her a reputation among her friends. So, the other night, we were at our friends, Jack and Molly's place. They've got a nice house on the outskirts of Nashville with a spacious living room that's perfect for game nights. A bunch of us were there for a poker night, Jack and Molly, along with our friends Tim, Ben, Ryan, and Derek. Tim and Ben are single, while I was hanging out with the wives, Kelly and Rachel. I was just relaxing with Kelly and Rachel, chatting about work and family stuff, feeling comfortable as the evening progressed. It was getting late, and I figured the poker game would be winding down soon. I expected Linda to come out with a big smile, ready to head home after raking in her winnings. But then I heard this strange noise coming from the kitchen. It sounded like someone was, well, getting a little too excited. Curiosity piqued. I decided to check it out, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Linda was kneeling in front of Tim, who had his pants halfway down. She was inches away from, well, you get the picture. I couldn't believe my eyes. My heart raced as I rushed over and pulled Linda away from Tim. "What the heck are you doing, Linda?" I yelled, my voice filled with disbelief and anger. Ben, trying to be a peacemaker, stepped in, mumbling something about a bet, but I wasn't having it. "I don't care what kind of bet it was. She's not doing that," I shouted, the reality of the situation crashing over me like a wave. Linda looked at me, a mix of frustration and desperation in her eyes. "Nick, please. I had a great hand. I could have won big time. It was just a gamble, and I lost," she explained, her voice trembling slightly. "Fine, you lost," I replied, trying to calm down. "We can settle up next time. Let's just go home." But Linda shook her head, her determination clear. "No, Nick. I can't just walk away. I made a bet, and I have to follow through. It's about honor." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was choosing this stupid game over us? I felt a knot tightening in my stomach. I tried to pull her away, but she was stubborn. She even asked the other guys to help hold me back, as if I were the one causing the trouble. At that moment, I felt so betrayed. I couldn't comprehend how she could do this to me, to our marriage. It was as if the ground had shifted beneath my feet. I had always thought we were on the same team, but here she was, prioritizing a game over our relationship. "Linda, this isn't just about a bet," I pleaded, trying to reach her through the chaos of the moment. "You're putting yourself in a situation that jeopardizes everything we've built together. Don't you see that?" But she just looked at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of defiance and a touch of regret. "I know it sounds bad, but you don't understand how intense it gets when we play. It's all part of the game, and I didn't think it would go this far," she argued, her voice wavering as she attempted to justify her actions. My mind raced as I processed her words. It wasn't just the fact that she was kneeling in front of another man. It was the realization that this wasn't just a simple game anymore. It had become something far more complex and damaging. I felt a wave of emotions crashing over me, anger, sadness, and a deep sense of loss. In the end, I just gave up. I couldn't take it anymore. I turned away from them, feeling completely defeated, and walked out of the room. As I stepped outside, the cool night air hit my face, but it did little to ease the turmoil churning inside me. I leaned against the porch railing, trying to catch my breath and regain some sense of clarity. What had just happened? How had it come to this? I thought about all the nights we spent together, playing games and laughing. Was it all a facade? I felt tears prickling at the corners of my eyes, but I fought them back, refusing to let my emotions take over. I needed to think, to process everything that had just unfolded. As I stood there, the laughter and chatter from inside faded into the background. The world felt quiet, but my heart was anything but. I stumbled out to Linda's car, my hands shaking. I couldn't believe what had just happened. It felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I drove home on autopilot, my mind racing, desperately trying to make sense of the chaos. When I got home, I couldn't stay. I grabbed a suitcase and a bag, tossing random clothes inside. I didn't care what I took. I just needed to get out. A little while later, Linda came home. "Andrew, what are you doing?" she asked, her voice laced with confusion. "What does it look like?" I replied, trying to keep my voice calm even though my heart was pounding. "I'm leaving." "Why?" she asked, as if she couldn't comprehend my decision. "Why?" I repeated, my voice rising. "Because I can't stay here with you after what you did tonight. You humiliated me in front of everyone. You chose them over me." "Andrew, come on," she said, rolling her eyes in frustration. "It was just a bet. You're making a big deal out of nothing." "It wasn't just a bet, Linda," I insisted. "You chose a stupid game over our marriage. That's not love." She crossed her arms defiantly. "I'm not throwing away years of friendship because of one night. They mean a lot to me." I zipped up my suitcase, my resolve hardening. "You don't get it, Linda, and I don't think you ever will." I walked out of the bedroom and left. I drove downtown and checked into a cheap motel. It was a far cry from our cozy home, but it was a place where I could be alone with my thoughts. The next day, I tried to bury myself in work. I ignored Linda's calls and texts. Every message felt hollow. She kept apologizing, but none of it seemed sincere. That night, instead of returning to the motel, I went to a local sports bar. I was sitting there, nursing a drink, when I spotted Kelly and Rachel. They sat down with me, and we started talking. They felt awful about what had happened. They said they should have intervened, but they froze in the moment. I told them it was too late for apologies. Rachel asked if I'd talk to Linda. I shook my head. What's there to say? She doesn't think she did anything wrong. Kelly suggested that I talk to her again, give her a chance to explain, but I wasn't sure I wanted to hear any more excuses. A few days later, I made the hardest decision of my life. I filed for divorce. I couldn't stay in a marriage where my wife didn't care about me or our vows. When Linda received the papers, she didn't fight it. She just signed them, a vacant look in her eyes. After the divorce, I saw Linda occasionally. She would apologize, but it felt empty. I missed her, but trust was a fragile thing, shattered in a moment of desperation. A few weeks later, I found myself at a bar, drowning my sorrows in drink after drink. That's when Linda walked in. She looked different, more sober and collected. She approached me and told me she'd been going to therapy and had stopped gambling. She said she still loved me, but she knew she'd messed up. I was shocked and confused, a whirlwind of emotions flooding my mind. I didn't know what to believe, but I also couldn't deny my lingering feelings for her. We started seeing each other again, slowly, cautiously. It wasn't easy, but we were both trying to rebuild our relationship, one fragile step at a time. We were rebuilding our lives, one day at a time. But the scars of the past ran deep, like ink stains on a once blank canvas. I often found myself lost in thought, replaying that night over and over, like a broken record stuck on the same painful note. Could I ever truly forgive Linda? Could I ever fully trust her again after what had happened? Linda was working hard to change. She had taken the first step by attending therapy sessions, seeking guidance, and surrounding herself with people who understood the struggles she faced. She joined a support group, sharing her experiences and learning from others who had faced similar challenges. I admired her courage and determination to confront her demons head-on. It took strength to be vulnerable, to share her story with strangers and seek help, and I was proud of her efforts. However, rebuilding our relationship wasn't as straightforward as I had hoped. There were moments of tension, misunderstandings, and lingering doubt that hung between us like a heavy fog. We were both walking on eggshells, careful not to trigger each other's sensitivities. We had to learn to communicate openly and honestly, expressing our fears and insecurities without judgment. Every conversation felt like navigating a minefield, and I often found myself hesitant to bring up difficult topics, fearing they might explode into another argument. One chilly evening, as we sat by the fireplace, the flickering flames casting a warm glow in the dim room, I finally found the courage to open up to Linda about my fears. The crackling fire provided a comforting backdrop as I told her how much pain she had caused me, how her actions had shattered my sense of security and trust. I shared the anguish I felt each time I thought about that night, the humiliation I endured, and the betrayal that still echoed in my heart. Linda listened patiently, her eyes fixed on me, absorbing every word without interrupting. I could see the emotions swirling in her gaze, regret, sorrow, and a flicker of hope. When I finished, she took my hand and said softly, "I know I hurt you deeply, and I'm truly sorry. I'm working hard to be a better person, and I hope you can give me another chance." Her words touched my heart, yet they also stirred a whirlwind of emotions within me. I realized that forgiveness wasn't about forgetting the past. It was about letting go of the pain and resentment that threatened to consume us. It was about choosing to move forward, to build a future together, despite the shadows of our past. As the days turned into weeks, we made a conscious effort to reconnect. We started having regular date nights, trying to remember what had drawn us together in the first place. We explored new restaurants, went for long walks, and even revisited some of our favorite spots from when we first fell in love. Each shared experience brought us closer, allowing us to rediscover the joy in each other's company. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were still times when the past would rear its ugly head, casting a shadow over our moments of happiness. Linda would occasionally get upset over something trivial, and I would feel my heart race, bracing myself for an argument that would spiral into old wounds. During those moments, I had to remind myself to be patient, to give her the space she needed to express her feelings without taking it as a personal attack. One rainy afternoon, as we curled up on the couch, I shared a memory from our early days together. How we used to laugh until our sides hurt over the silliest things. Linda smiled, her eyes sparkling with nostalgia. "I want to get back to that," she said. "I want us to find joy again." And so, we made it our mission to cherish the small moments and appreciate each other's presence, even in the quiet times. We discovered a new depth of love, one that was stronger than any challenge we faced. It wasn't just about being physically together. It was about emotionally reconnecting, learning to lean on each other as we navigated the ups and downs of our journey. Our journey wasn't perfect, but it was ours. We stumbled along the way, sometimes falling into old patterns, but we always found our way back to each other. Our love became a testament to the power of forgiveness, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring nature of love. With each passing day, I found myself slowly letting go of the past, allowing the hope of a brighter future to take root in my heart. We were rebuilding our lives, one day at a time. However, a part of me still felt raw, a lingering pain from the betrayal that echoed in my mind. Often, I found myself lost in thought, replaying that night over and over. Could I ever truly forgive Linda? Could I ever fully trust her again? One evening, as we sat on the couch together, a quiet comfort settled between us. We were watching a movie, our fingers intertwined, each touch feeling both familiar and foreign. As I glanced at Linda, I noticed a change in her. There was a newfound serenity in her demeanor, a quiet strength that hadn't been there before. It was clear she was working hard to be a better person, and I could see it reflected in her eyes. I realized that holding on to the past wouldn't help us move forward. The anger and resentment I clung to felt like a heavy burden, weighing me down. It was time to let go, to choose forgiveness over pain. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about acknowledging the hurt, releasing the grip of that pain, and choosing to move on. It's about giving someone a second chance, believing in the possibility of redemption. But I knew it wouldn't be easy. As we sat there together, I spoke up, my voice barely above a whisper. "Linda, I want to try to forgive you. I really do. But it's hard." She turned to me, her expression softening. "I understand, Andrew. I hurt you deeply, and I'm truly sorry for that. I'm committed to making things right between us," she replied, her sincerity evident. That night, we talked for hours, sharing our fears and hopes. We acknowledged the weight of our shared history while also discussing our desire to create a new future together. It was a long conversation, filled with tears and laughter, but it was exactly what we needed. Time passed, and although there were still moments of doubt, we faced those challenges together. Our relationship, though scarred, was growing stronger. We were learning to communicate openly and honestly, to trust each other, and to build a future together. It was a journey, a long and winding road, but we were on it, hand in hand. As weeks turned into months, the pain of the past began to fade. It didn't disappear entirely, but it no longer consumed us. We had found a way to heal, to grow, and to love again. I often wondered if I could have handled the situation differently. Perhaps I could have been more understanding or more forgiving when Linda needed me. But hindsight is always clearer. What's done is done, and I couldn't change the past. Now, as I look to the future, I feel a sense of hope blossoming in my heart. We had faced adversity, overcome challenges, and emerged stronger together. Our love story was no longer just about betrayal. It had transformed into a testament to the power of forgiveness, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring nature of love. Each day brought new opportunities to show each other how much we cared. We found joy in the little things, a shared meal, a long walk, or even quiet moments spent together at home. Every smile, every laugh felt like a victory over the shadows of our past. In rebuilding our lives, I discovered not just a renewed relationship with Linda, but a deeper understanding of myself. I learned that love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice. And every day, I chose to love Linda, to trust her again, and to believe in our shared future. With that commitment, I knew we could navigate whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, we would create new memories, celebrate our victories, and face our fears. Always hand in hand, never looking back.